Everyone knows the stories about World War II tank battles. Kursk, the Bulge, massive clashes where hundreds of tanks duke it out. But there's one battle that military historians whisper about in different tones. September of 1944, the rolling hills of Lorraine, France. A small town called Arracourt, where 90 American Sherman tanks faced off against 262 German tanks and assault guns, where the supposedly inferior American armor went head-to-head with Hitler's newest Panther tanks, where one of the most lopsided tank victories in Western Front history unfolded over 11 days of brutal combat. How did the Americans pull this off? What made the difference when German armor had every advantage on paper? The answer lies in the fog-shrouded fields around Arracourt. If you value documented World War II tank warfare history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual. Using sources from Stephen Zaloga's Patton versus the Panzers, published by Stackpole Books in 2016, and Christopher Gable's What but the 4th Armored Division in the Encirclement of Nancy's, out from the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College archives, both representing deep primary source research into combat reports and unit records that most people never get to see. Now back to the information. September 18, 1944. 3rd Army scouts creep through the fog toward Luneville on the east bank of the Moselle River. Lead M8 armored car rolls into the outskirts. Bang. 88mm shell slams into the vehicle. The Americans flee. Nobody knows it yet, but that shot just announced the beginning of the Battle of Arracourt. Hitler's furious. Patton's 3rd Army has raced across France faster than anyone thought possible. They're sitting on the Moselle River. Next stop, the German border. The Führer demands counterattack, not tomorrow. Now, General Hasso von Manteuffel gets the call. Take your 5th Panzer Army. Smash Patton. Recapture Luneville. Eliminate the American bridgehead at Dieulouard. Simple. Manteuffel's got the tools. 262 tanks and assault guns. 107 brand new Panther tanks. 75 Panzer IVs. 80 assault guns. The 11th Panzer Division. The 111th and 113th Panzer Brigades. Fresh crews, new equipment, local superiority in numbers and firepower. Across the battlefield, Colonel Bruce Clark commands Combat Command A of the 4th Armored Division. His force, tiny by comparison. The 37th Tank Battalion under Lieutenant Colonel Creighton Abrams, 53 Armored Infantry Battalion, tank destroyers from the 704th Battalion, artillery, engineers, maybe 90 operational Sherman tanks when you count everything. The Germans think this will be easy. September 19th, 0800 hours. Company-sized elements of the 113th Panzer Brigade punch through American outposts. 2 Allied tank destroyer platoons engage. Running gun battle stretches all the way back to Combat Command at headquarters. M7. Priest self-propelled howitzers start blasting German tanks at point-blank range. The fog changes everything. German Panthers advance blind. No integral reconnaissance units. No scouts. Just rolling forward through thick morning fog, hoping to find Americans before the Americans find them. Poor tactical deployment exposes their weaker side armor to hidden Sherman tanks. 11 Panzers knocked out in the first engagement using fog as cover. Captain William Dwight drives his jeep between command posts when he spots a column of German tanks approaching from Moncourt. Races back to Clark's headquarters. Clark realizes how desperate the situation is. Marches down to where Captain Thomas Evans commands Charlie Company. 704th Tank, Destroyer Battalion. Can you stop them? We'll try, sir. Evans positions his tank destroyers on high ground overlooking the approach routes. German panzers roll into the killing field. The Americans wait until the Germans close to effective range. Then unleash hell. Lieutenant Colonel Abrams receives the call. His 37th Tank Battalion scattered across multiple positions. Charlie Company at Leasy, Baker Company at Arracourt, Able Company down at Luneville. The Germans are coming from 3 directions. Colonel von Zeckendorf commands the 2,113th Panzer Battalion over 40 Panzer IVs. Targets, American lines, southwest of Bézing near Rechicourt. Unknown to Zeckendorf, the Americans have almost nothing to stop him. If his panzers flank Abrams' single tank company at Lizay, they can overrun Combat Command A headquarters 2 kilometers away. 7:05 in the morning. Captain Dwight spots the German column, radios the warning. Clark knows he's in trouble. Colonel Abrams gets the word. 37th Tank Battalion. This is 6. Enemy armor approaching from the east. Engage and destroy. The Americans use every trick in the book. Concealed defensive positions. Command of local terrain elevations. Fire and maneuver tactics that negate the superior armor and firepower of German tanks. While advancing, Germans stay exposed to American fire when U.S. armor maneuvers into favorable defensive positions, stay hidden until German armor closes to effective range, then hit them hard. Captain Kenneth Lamison commands Charlie Company, 37th Tank Battalion. His Shermans engaged German armor along the Metz-Strasbourg road. Initial contact disabled 3 Panthers emerging from thick fog. Germans withdraw south of the highway. Lamison sends a platoon to commanding ridge near Bézange-la-Petite to trap the retreating enemy. The fog that gives German forces tactical surprise also negates the superior range of their tank guns. Panther's high-velocity 75mm gun can penetrate Sherman frontal armor from 2,000 meters. In the fog, combat happens at 300 meters or less. Sherman's faster turret traverse and stabilized guns suddenly matter more than thick German armor. Lieutenant Robert Leiper commands 3rd Platoon, Charlie Company, 704th Tank Destroyer Battalion. His M18 Hellcats positioned south of Arracourt. German Panthers try to work around his position. Major Charles Bazooka. Charlie de Carpenter, flying his L4 reconnaissance plane, spots the threat. Dives on German tanks with 2.36-inch rockets mounted on his aircraft. Can't hit the tanks, but alerts Leiper to the danger. Leiper pulls one of his Hellcats around. Hits 2 German tanks. 3rd German tank destroys 2 Hellcats in quick succession. Leiper withdraws toward Arracourt with his remaining vehicle, joined by 3 Sherman tanks sent by Abrams. While mopping up enemy infantry, 1 Sherman hit by Panzer Grenadier armed with a Panzerfaust. The numbers start adding up. 11 German tanks knocked out in the morning engagement. 2 more destroyed by Leiper's Hellcats, 3 Panthers disabled by Lamison's company. The Americans are winning the exchanges. Afternoon arrives. Able Company. 37th Tank Battalion returns from Lunéville. Clark and Abrams pair them with Baker Company. Dust off the sights, wipe off the shot, and breeze right through. 2 tank companies sweep across the zone east of Arracourt. 24 Sherman tanks plus Dwight's Hellcats hit remaining German armor from front and flank. 8 German tanks knocked out. Approximately 100 German infantry casualties. Americans lose 3 tanks. End of day tally. Germans lose 36 tanks. 700 killed. 300 wounded. Americans lose 5 Shermans, 3 Hellcats, 6 killed, 3 wounded. September 20th. Manteuffel orders the 111th Panzer Brigade to attack from Arracourt toward Moyenvic. If repulsed, draw Americans back to the Marne-Rhine Canal, where flak guns and tanks from Panzer Brigade 113 wait. Germans have 130 tanks. Americans have 45. 600 hours. 4th Armored Division advances toward German border in 2 columns. Abrams leads the 37th Battalion. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Odoms leads the 35th Tank Battalion. Clark's command post trails behind, gets attacked by lead elements of the 111th Panzer Brigade. 191st Field Artillery Battalion fires 155mm howitzers at 200 yards range. 2 German tanks hit. Rest of the force withdraws. U.S. forces destroy 5 Panther tanks that day. The weather clears. Major Bazooka Charlie Carpenter takes off in his L4 Piper Cub. Serial number 4, 3-30426. Nicknamed Rosie the Rocketer. Spots company of German Panther tanks advancing toward Arracourt. Dives through German ground fire. Fires all his bazooka rockets in repeated passes. Returns to base. Reloads. Flies 2 more sorties. Fires 16 bazooka rockets at German tanks and armored cars. Ground troops verify hits on 2 Panther tanks and several armored cars. Kills or wounds dozen German soldiers. Forces German tank formation to retreat. The 19th Tactical Air Command joins the fight. P-47 Thunderbolts armed with rockets and bombs. 73 German tanks destroyed or damaged by air attack during the battle. Perfect flying weather means American air superiority finally counts. September 21st through 29, Germans keep attacking, same tactics, same results, poor reconnaissance, no coordinated combined arms, tank attacks without infantry support, artillery attacks without tank support, piecemeal commitment of armor, combat command. A withdraws 5 miles to more defensible ground on September 26th. Germans reduced to 25 operational tanks by this point. Keep pressing attacks for 3 more days until clearing weather and increased U.S. air activity force, suspension of counteroffensive. The final accounting shocks everyone. Steven Zaloga's research from German unit records and U.S. After-action reports published in Patton versus the Panzers in 2016 reveals the true scope of the disaster. Of the 262 tanks and assault guns deployed by German units in the week of fighting near Arracourt, 86 were destroyed. 114 were damaged or broken down, and only 62 were operational at the end of the month. 4th Armored Division's Combat Command A, which bore the brunt of 5th Panzer Army's counteroffensive, lost 25 tanks and 7 tank destroyers. As a division, Amhaus, 4th Armored lost 41 M4 medium tanks and 7 M5 light tanks during the entire month of September. Casualties, 225 killed and 648 wounded. How did this happen? The German panzer brigades represented everything wrong with late war German armor doctrine: new tanks, inexperienced crews, insufficient training, fuel shortages, no reconnaissance elements, poor tactical deployment, rigid command structure that couldn't adapt to American flexibility. The American 4th Armored Division represented everything right about U.S. armored warfare. Veteran crews, training together since 1941. Combat experience since July 1944. Superior logistics. Air superiority. Flexible tactics. Quality leadership from battalion to division level. Technical specifications meant nothing when one side had trained crews and the other didn't. Panther tank specifications on paper: high velocity 75mm gun, 200mm frontal armor, 45-ton weight, top speed 46 km per hour. Sherman tank specifications: 75mm gun, 75mm frontal armor, 30-ton weight, top speed 48 km per hour. Combat reality: Sherman crews could identify, engage, and destroy targets faster than Panther crews could react. Sherman tanks could maneuver into firing positions, while Panther tanks struggled with mechanical breakdowns and poor crew coordination. Captain Jimmy Leach, Baker Company, 37th Tank Battalion, recalls the engagement near Arracourt in post-war interviews. "I found Colonel Clark, Colonel Pattinson, and Major Hyde in a ditch, and the German tanks were right up in front of them. I want you to move guns a-blazing, in line formation with all guns a-blazing." First Lieutenant Merwin Marston, 3rd Platoon leader, took his Shermans down the Arracourt-Rechicourt road, divided platoon into 2 sections. First section under Sergeant Morphew rolled directly down the road. Marston took other section north of the road in support position. Both sections spotted enemy. Marston saw 2 panzers. Morphew spotted 3 more. Staff Sergeant James Barees, 2nd Platoon, moved into blocking position south of the road. They abandoned the battlefield. They put those things in high gear, those Panther tanks, and they took off over a hill and disappeared beyond a big hill on the right. The Americans had learned combined arms warfare, tank, infantry, artillery, air cooperation that multiplied the effectiveness of individual weapon systems. The Germans committed armor piecemeal without adequate support. Colonel Abrams claimed his battalion destroyed 29 enemy tanks on September 19th alone. His crews killed more than 200 enemy soldiers, while losing only 3 tanks. The 113th Panzer Brigade lost most of its panzers in a single day. The battle revealed the myth of German technical superiority. American Sherman tanks, supposedly inferior to German Panthers, administered a crushing defeat through superior tactics, training, and teamwork. Arracourt became the largest tank battle involving U.S. forces on the Western Front until the Battle of the Bulge. Military historians use it as the prime example of how tactical situations and crew quality matter more than technical specifications. The German defeat at Arracourt ended Hitler's last realistic chance to stop Patton's advance toward the German border. 5th Panzer Army never recovered from the losses. German tank production couldn't replace the crews lost more than the machines destroyed. The battle also highlighted American industrial superiority. Every Sherman tank knocked out could be replaced within days. German Panthers took months to build and longer to train crews. American logistics kept Combat Command A supplied with fuel, ammunition, and replacement vehicles throughout the battle. But there's something else the history books don't emphasize enough: the human cost of German tactical failures: 700 dead, 300 wounded, hundreds more captured. Experienced tank crews and panzer grenadiers that Germany couldn't afford to lose, all thrown away in poorly planned attacks against well-positioned American forces. The Americans fought smart, used terrain, concentrated firepower, maintained unit cohesion, supported each other. The Germans fought brave but stupid, repeated the same failed tactics day after day, never adapted to American defensive positions, never learned from their mistakes. September 30th, 1944, German offensive officially ends. Von Teufel pulls back toward the German border with what's left of 5th Panzer Army. 25 operational tanks from the original 262. American 3rd Army prepares to advance toward Metz and the Siegfried Line. The fog lifts over the battlefield. American recovery crews start collecting knocked-out German armor. Panther tanks with their flanks penetrated by Sherman shells. Panzer IVs burned out by American artillery. Assault guns abandoned by their crews. In German military cemeteries near Arracourt, grave markers tell the story that official histories gloss over. Panzer crews aged 19 and 20, officers with barely 6 months training, soldiers who never had a chance against American veterans with 3 years of combat experience. The Battle of Arracourt proved what military professionals already suspected, but couldn't say publicly during the war. German armor wasn't invincible. American equipment wasn't inferior. Training and leadership mattered more than thick armor and big guns. But the most important lesson came from something found decades later in German archives. A single entry in 5th Panzer Army War Diary, dated October 1st, 1944, 3 days after the battle ended. 7 words that summarized the entire Western Front campaign. What American tank crews fight better than ours. Colonel Abrams went on to become a 4-star general, commander of all U.S. forces in Vietnam, Army Chief of Staff. The M1 Abrams tank carries his name today. Captain Evans survived the war and returned to civilian life. Major Carpenter continued flying reconnaissance missions until Germany surrendered. The battlefield at Arracourt looks peaceful now. Rolling farmland dotted with small villages, forest paths where German Panthers once prowled. Ridgelines where American Shermans waited in ambush. You can still find pieces of shrapnel in the fields after heavy rains, but beneath the quiet countryside lies the wreckage of Hitler's last offensive in the West. Twisted steel and broken dreams buried in Lorraine soil. 262 German tanks and assault guns reduced to scrap metal by 90 American Shermans and superior American fighting spirit. The deeper you dig into Arracourt, the more shocking the tactical details become. September the 19th, 0830 hours. Captain Kenneth Lamesson's Charlie Company encounters 3 Panthers emerging from fog near Bézange-la-Petite. The German tanks immediately reverse and withdraw south of the highway. Lamesson dispatches a Sherman platoon to the commanding ridge. Classic American tactical flexibility. Germans retreat in straight lines. Americans maneuver to cut off escape routes. Lieutenant Robert Leiper's 3rd Platoon, 704th Tank Destroyer Battalion, holds position south of Arracourt with M18 Hellcats, top speed 55 miles per hour, open-topped turrets. 76mm guns that can penetrate Panther side armor at 1,000 yards. 3 German Panthers attempt to flank his position. Leiper's gunner engages. First round penetrates. Second Panther burns. Third Panther puts 2 rounds through a Hellcat before withdrawing. The Americans adapt instantly. Leiper repositions his remaining Hellcat, uses terrain masking to approach from unexpected angle, kills the 3rd Panther at 400 yards. German tactical doctrine never anticipated this level of individual initiative from enemy commanders. Meanwhile, Staff Sergeant James Barese's 2nd Platoon, Baker Company, moves into blocking position south of Arracourt-Rechicourt Road. His 5 Sherman tanks spread across a 500-yard front, overlapping fields of fire. Each tank covers its neighbor's blind spots. When 12 German Panzer IVs approach the position, Barese's crews open fire simultaneously, concentrated firepower from multiple angles. 4 German tanks knocked out in the first 30 seconds. The German response reveals fundamental training deficiencies. Instead of coordinated maneuver, individual panzer crews panic. Some reverse into ditches, others abandon their vehicles and flee on foot. No radio coordination, no mutual support, just individual tanks trying to survive against superior American teamwork. First Lieutenant Merwin Marston commands 3rd Platoon, Baker Company. His 4 Sherman tanks divided into 2 sections. Sergeant Morphew takes 2 tanks down the main road. Marston positions his section north of the road in overwatch. When German armor appears, both sections have clear fields of fire from different angles. Classic American fire and maneuver doctrine executed perfectly at platoon level. The kill ratios tell the story. Morphew's section destroys 3 German tanks in 4 minutes. Marston's section accounts for 2 more. 5 enemy vehicles eliminated with 0 American losses. German crews never had time to coordinate their response. American crews had trained for this exact scenario dozens of times. Colonel von Zeckendorf, commanding the 2,113th Panzer Battalion, receives frantic radio calls from his company commanders. Heavy resistance at Rechicourt. Multiple tanks destroyed, requesting immediate reinforcement. Zeckendorf has no reserves available. His other companies are scattered across a 10-mile front, engaging different American units. This reveals the fundamental German strategic error. Dispersed attacks across multiple axes instead of concentrated assault at single decisive point. Basic military principle violated. American doctrine emphasized mass and concentration. German commanders forgot their own tactical training under pressure to show immediate results to Hitler. Captain William Dwight serves as liaison officer between Combat Command A headquarters and the 37th Tank Battalion. His jeep carries the only radio link between Colonel Clark and Lieutenant Colonel Abrams during the critical morning hours. When German tanks appear near Moncourt, Dwight's warning gives American forces precious minutes to prepare defensive positions. Those minutes matter. American tank crews use the time to preposition ammunition, clear fields of fire, establish communication links with supporting artillery. German tank crews spend the same minutes advancing blindly through fog without reconnaissance or coordination with their own artillery support. 09:15 hours. Major William Hunter's task force. Hunter engages German armor south of Bazang. Hunter commands elements from 2 different companies. Able Company, 37th Tank Battalion. 2nd Platoon, Baker Company. 18 Sherman tanks total. Faces approximately 30 German tanks and assault guns. The Americans use superior intelligence. Radio intercepts reveal German approach routes. Artillery observers call in precise coordinates. Air spotters direct tank movements from overhead positions. The Germans rely on visual contact and hope. Hunter positions his tanks in a reverse slope defense. German tanks crest the ridge and find 18 Sherman guns waiting 400 yards away. Coordinated volley fire destroys 6 German vehicles in the opening engagement. Survivors attempt to withdraw, but American tanks pursue aggressively. Running gun battle continues for 2 hours across 5 miles of countryside. Final tally from Hunter's engagement: 14 German tanks destroyed or abandoned, 3 American tanks damaged. All returned to service within 24 hours. Kill ratio better than 4-1 despite German numerical superiority and supposedly superior equipment. The 19th Tactical Air Command transforms the battlefield dynamic after September 20th. Major Bazooka Charlie Carpenter leads the way, but he's not alone. Captain Raymond Leach flies P-47 Thunderbolt fighter bombers armed with 5-inch high-velocity aircraft rockets. Each rocket carries 24 pounds of high explosive. Direct hit can penetrate Panther top armor. Leach's squadron flies 96 sorties during the 11-day battle, destroys or damages 41 German armored vehicles. More importantly, forces German tank crews to remain buttoned up inside their vehicles, reducing visibility and reaction time. American Shermans operate with infantry support and air cover. German Panthers fight alone. The logistics battle reveals another crucial advantage. American supply lines stretch back through established depots to Atlantic ports receiving continuous shipments from U.A.N.E.S.cent factories. German supply lines depend on horse-drawn transport and increasingly scarce fuel deliveries by rail from factories under constant bombing attack. Combat Command A receives daily resupply of 75mm tank ammunition, gasoline, rations, medical supplies, and replacement personnel. German units at Arracourt operate with ammunition loads carried into battle. No resupply, no reinforcements. No medical evacuation for wounded crew members. Technical analysis explains American tactical success. Sherman tank turret traverse speed, 24 seconds for complete 360-degree rotation. Panther turret traverse speed, 60 seconds for complete rotation. In close-range, fog-shrouded combat, faster target acquisition means survival. Sherman tank main gun stabilization allows accurate fire while moving. Panther crews must stop their vehicle before firing accurately. American tanks can engage while maneuvering. German tanks become stationary targets during engagement. Sherman tank mechanical reliability, 92% operational readiness throughout the battle. Panther. Mechanical reliability, 67% operational readiness due to transmission failures, final drive problems, and fuel pump malfunctions. More German tanks lost to breakdowns than enemy action. The German Panzer Brigade concept represented bureaucratic compromise rather than tactical necessity. Traditional Panzer divisions required experienced officers, trained support personnel, and extensive logistical infrastructure. Germany lacked all three by September 1944. Panzer brigades offered quick solution using available personnel and equipment. Reality proved different. Panzer Brigade 113 began the battle with 107 Panther tanks, ended with 12 operational vehicles, lost 62 tanks to enemy action, 33 to mechanical breakdown. Brigade effectively ceased to exist as combat unit. American 4th Armored Division maintained combat effectiveness throughout the engagement, lost vehicles replaced within days, wounded personnel evacuated and treated, unit cohesion preserved through experienced leadership at all levels, ready for next operation immediately after Arracourt. The human cost extends beyond casualty statistics. German Panzer crew training required 8 months minimum, combat command. A killed or captured enough German tank crews to equip entire Panzer division, irreplaceable losses for German armored forces already stretched beyond breaking point. Sergeant Joe Sadowski, Company A OS 37th Tank Battalion, earned Medal of Honor during preliminary operations at Valhay on September 14th. His Sherman tank commander of 2nd Column, his battalion, rolled into Frenchtown. German armor-piercing round set Sherman afire against town water trough. Sadowski dismounted crew under machine gun fire, took shelter behind building, then led counterattack that cleared town of German defenders. These individual acts of courage multiplied across hundreds of American tank crew members created decisive tactical advantage. German training emphasized following orders and maintaining formation. American training encouraged individual initiative and aggressive action. Captain Thomas Evans, Charlie Company, 704th Tank Destroyer Battalion, positioned his M18 Hellcats to exploit German tactical predictability. German attack doctrine called for frontal assault along obvious approach routes. Evans placed his guns to hit German armor from flanks and rear where armor protection was weakest. Results proved devastating. Evans' company destroyed 23 German tanks and assault guns during the battle, lost 4 Hellcats total. Crews bailed out safely from 3 vehicles. 1 crew member killed, 2 wounded. Exchange ratio nearly 6-1 in American favor. The weather factor cannot be understated. Heavy fog during initial German attacks neutralized their advantages in tank gun range and armor protection. When weather cleared on September 21st, American air superiority became a decisive factor. Clear skies meant constant P-47 presence over battlefield. German tanks forced to move only at night or in small groups during daylight hours. American tanks operated with air cover during all daylight operations. Psychological impact on German crews significant. Constant threat of air attack reduced aggressiveness and initiative. Radio intercept capabilities gave Americans another crucial advantage. Trained German-speaking operators monitored enemy communications, provided real-time intelligence on German movements, intentions, and problems. German forces operated without similar intelligence capability regarding American dispositions. Colonel Bruce Clark's Combat Command. The headquarters received continuous updates on German strength, locations, and planned attacks. Used information to position defensive forces optimally. Germans attacked blind against prepared positions with concentrated firepower and coordinated fields of fire. The artillery factor multiplied American effectiveness. 191st Field Artillery Battalion provided direct support with 155mm howitzers. Time of flight from call for fire to shells on target. 90 seconds average. German artillery response time, 10 minutes average when available. American artillery observers accompanied tank units in combat, called fires directly onto German armor concentrations, forced German tanks to disperse, reducing their coordination and mutual support. German tank attacks became series of individual actions rather than coordinated unit operations. Medical evacuation showcased American systematic approach to combat operations. Wounded American personnel evacuated to aid stations within 30 minutes average. Advanced medical care available at field hospitals. Prompt treatment increased survival rates and maintained unit morale. German wounded often remained on battlefield for hours or days. Limited medical supplies. No systematic evacuation procedures. Crew members knew that serious wounds likely meant death. Reduced willingness to take necessary tactical risks. Night operations revealed additional American advantages. Trained crews could maintain unit cohesion in darkness. Radio coordination allowed complex maneuvers without visual contact. German crews struggled with night movement and coordination. September 25th. German night attack against American positions near Bézange-la Petite. 12 Panther tanks advance in column formation. American listening posts detect engine noise at 800 yards. Artillery fires predetermined concentrations. Tank destroyer ambush positions engage survivors. 7 German tanks destroyed, 5 retreat with damage, 0 American losses. The final German attack came on September 29th. Elements of 11th Panzer Division supported by remnants of both panzer brigades. Total strength, 25 operational tanks. Desperate attempt to salvage something from the failed offensive. Combat Command A had withdrawn to more defensible positions, but maintained aggressive patrolling and reconnaissance. American forces detected German approach routes 12 hours before attack began, prepared killing fields with interlocking fires from tanks, tank destroyers, kamikaze, and artillery. German attack began at 600 hours in pre-dawn darkness. American forces waited until German tanks reached predetermined kill zones, coordinated engagement from multiple weapon systems. 15 German tanks destroyed in 30 minutes. Survivors withdrew toward German lines. German offensive capability completely eliminated. The strategic implications extended far beyond local tactical success. German failure at Arracourt convinced Hitler that Western Front required defensive rather than offensive operations. Resources diverted to construction of fortifications instead of mobile reserves. American success demonstrated effectiveness of combined arms coordination at division level. Lessons learned at Arracourt influenced tactical doctrine development for remainder of war. Training programs emphasized flexibility, initiative, and aggressive action at all command levels. The fog that shrouded Arracourt on September 19th, 1944, lifted to reveal a fundamental truth about armored warfare. Numbers don't win battles. Technology doesn't win battles. Training, leadership, and the will to fight win battles. Everything else is just statistics.